sa ating mga panalangin at misa dito po sa Koledyo Filipino. At para po sa friends of the Koledyo at mga nagpapadala ng mga prayer intentions, makakaasa po kayo na pinapadalangin po namin kayo. Today is the first Sunday of Lent, and by tradition, the Gospel depicts the so-called temptations of Christ. And we have the version of St. Mark, which is the shortest. Not much to say about what the temptations were all about, or the testing, the trial. Maybe it's good to start our reflection, from the first reading, the book of Genesis. After the flood that destroyed sinful earth, except for Noah and his family, and the pairs of living creatures that boarded the ark with Noah, after that cleansing, the Lord established a covenant with Noah and with humanity. I will establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all bodily creatures be destroyed by the waters of a flood. There shall not be another flood to devastate the earth. What a promise. And it is not just a promise, a covenant. God always is the faithful partner in the covenant relationship. And in this covenant that he has just forged with Noah, his will, his plan became very clear. He does not rejoice in the destruction of peoples, of creatures. His is for salvation and for regeneration. And St. Peter in the second reading tells us that even Jesus, after his death, went to the place of the dead, the prison, in order to preach to the spirits there, those who had been once disobedient, so that he could bring them back to life. The patience of God, the desire of God to save, the hope of God, the unwavering hope. No one is a hopeless case. God will patiently wait. God will offer a new bath, not anymore the flood that will destroy, but the bath of baptism that is given to us thanks to the suffering, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus. I think it is good to start this Lenten season on that foundation, the sure foundation that God desires our good, that God desires our recreation. God does not rejoice at the destruction of anyone. Even those who have failed God still merit his patience. And Jesus dies for all, not only for the righteous, but for sinners, for all. In many parts of scriptures, Jesus would even say, I came not for the self-righteous, but for the sick, the wounded, those who need healing. So we should be happy. We should be happy. And with this happiness and gratitude should be translated in doing the will of God, which is a saving will, which is a recreating will, which is a patient will, destroyed, slow to anger, stretching his own sense of justice to be merciful. Mga kapatid, maswerte po tayo na meron tayong Diyos na hindi natutuwa na merong nasisira. Kahit na yaong mga hindi naging tapat sa Kanya, ang gusto pa rin ng Diyos ay maligtas sila. Which is quite different from our ways of thinking. No? When we dislike somebody, or when somebody has done us harm, no? And then we saw that person tripping, nadapa, in our hearts, like, buti nga. Buti nga. Sayang. Tuhod lang ang saktan. Sana yung muso, sana. And sometimes, even if we don't show it externally, in our minds, in our hearts, there is this ongoing feud, and in our dreams, we have eradicated some people. They will disappear from this earth. Unfortunately, even in the use of social media, persons are destroyed by people that probably don't know those persons. But it is fashionable to destroy. To say, you do not belong to me. You do not deserve my love. That is the path of destruction, not salvation. The covenant of God with us is that of salvation. We benefit from that. Let us approximate God's will. This is not human thinking. This is divine will, which is very different from ours. In fact, we might even be scandalized that God will love even those that the world, in its form of justice, would consider abominable. Which leads me to the gospel, the so-called testing or trial of Jesus. It was the Holy Spirit that descended upon Jesus after his baptism. It is this same Spirit that drove Jesus out into the desert, where he remained for 40 days, just like Israel, 40 days, 40 years. And there he was tested by Satan. Dear students, please do not associate tests. No. I mean, the test that you get from your professors, be kind to your professors. But that's the character of Satan. Testing. I prefer to use test rather than temptation, because the word temptation connotes something that you are being pushed to do something evil. Let us not be too quick to point to evil. Maybe a test. We don't have the details of the testing of Jesus in Mark, but in St. Matthew and in St. Luke, we have those details. And the testing was really, well, to my mind, the testing was this. Satan was offering to Jesus a way, a manner, a form of being the Messiah. And if you look at the proposal of the tempter, I mean, it was a good, it was a good way. You can feed the hungry. No? You can produce so much bread. I mean, what's wrong with that? No? Or you will possess all the kingdoms of the earth. I mean, that was an accepted practice at the time. You know, part of your power, your authority, is owning vast tracts of land, buildings, you know, fortresses, all that. And then, or you will be rendered service by people and even by the angels. Wow. I mean, we see that, you know, among leaders. They have people at their beck and call, people who serve them. So, in a way, what the tempter was proposing was something that was practical and accepted practice at that time. But here lies the test. God willed another form of messiahship. For Jesus, the Father offers a different form of being Messiah. In fact, many times he told his disciples, yes, I am the anointed one, but I know who I am. I know what the Father desires. I am not a military, a political, an economic, managerial Messiah. I will not be appreciated by the elders, by the chief priests, the scribes. I will be arrested. I don't wield the fame and the authority that are usually associated with the worldly messiahs. I will be put to death. This is the messiahship, mysterious messiahship, that is being proclaimed by the prophets and which the Father wants me to assume. This is the test. What type of Messiah does God will for Jesus to be? And remember in Caesarea Philippi, Simon Peter, after being given the name Peter, and tomorrow we celebrate the chair of Peter. So, oh, Peter, you are rock. And then after that, Jesus explains the type of messiahship that he wants. And Peter said, no, God forbid. No, don't say that. Don't say that. And Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. Satan does not exist only in the desert. Satan follows even in Caesarea Philippi. Whoever, according to Jesus, Simon Peter, who is now named Satan, said, you are thinking according to human ways and not according to God's ways. Here is the test. Will we allow, like Jesus, God's plan, God's will to prevail? Or will we allow worldly, human wisdom, even if they are in themselves good, will we allow that to prevail over us? And then we abandon God's plan. So it's not necessarily sinful. It might lead to sin. But the beginning is this. No? Even if something being proposed is good, is it God's will? What is God's will for you? And Jesus was clear. This was nurtured by his covenant with the Father, his prayer life. That's why he could be firm. How enticing to be a Messiah, no? That could do things with a click of a finger and remedy all the ills, the hunger of the world, by wielding power. Not bad, but is it the way that God appoints for you? Mga kapatid, ito po maraming magagandang bagay naman na hinahandog sa atin ng mundo, ng teknolohiya, ng kaalaman, lahat po. Hindi natin sinasabing masama. Pero sa bandang huli, ang hahanapin, ano ba ang gusto ng Diyos para sa atin? Si Jesus, pwede naman niyang pinili ang mas madaling daan. Pero alam niya, ang binigay sa kanyang daan ng kanyang Ama ay yung daan ng krus. Kaya bagamat siya mismo ay natakot, di ba? Natakot din siya dyan. Pero ito ang gusto ng Diyos, dito ako. Nandyan po yung test. Nandyan yung temptation. Ano ang mananaig sa atin? Ang kaisipan ng tao at mundo kahit mabuti o ang kaisipan ng Diyos? Tularan natin si Jesus. Laging mananalangin. Magnilay sa salita ng Diyos. Kilalanin ang sarili na hinuhubog ng Diyos upang lagi tayong makatupad sa kanyang kalooban. Kahit na minsan, misteryoso, nakakatakot. Pero kung ito ang plano ng Diyos, yan, diyan ka mamumunga. Diyan ka mamumunga. Let me end with a story. When I was a young priest, I think I was just 2 years ordained. I was asked to direct a long retreat, 30-day retreat for seminarians in Baguio City. That's in the north of the Philippines. But in the middle of the retreat, my maternal grandmother died. So I took a midnight bus from Baguio to Manila so that early morning I could rest and then celebrate the funeral mass. And that afternoon, I went back to Baguio for the retreat. After the retreat, went back to normal life. Then I went to my spiritual director for the monthly sharing, and I shared about that. And he stopped me and said, "So you went back to Baguio that afternoon?" He said, "Yes." He said, What did you take? A bus, Victory Liner, I said. He said, No. What I mean is, what type of bus? Air-conditioned bus? Or the economy bus? I said, air-conditioned. He said, why? Well, I compared the prices, just 10 peso difference. It was more comfortable, so I took the air-conditioned bus. I said, that's your only explanation? I said, were you sick at that time? Said, no. Did you have a cold? No. Did you have a conference that evening there that you need to rest during the trip? I said, no. Oh, so you don't have any reasons to take an air-conditioned bus? I said, but Father, only 10 pesos, the difference, no, be practical. But then he said, but how about following Jesus? Poor, simple. Does that enter your decision making? And I told myself, why did I tell that story? Why did I even share that? A simple bus trip now becomes like you have to discern the following of Jesus, etc. But that lesson has remained in me. Because the following year, I was again in Baguio. My grandfather died. I did the same. I came back to Manila. And going back to Baguio, I said, I think I am sick. I think I'm running a fever. I think I need to rest on the trip back. And I said, I hope only an air-conditioned bus is going at this time, and not an economy bus. No. And God knows how to deal with us. I reached the bus station, and the time that I wanted, 2 buses were leaving. 1 air-conditioned bus, 1 economy bus. And I took a deep breath and bought a ticket on the economy bus. Warm, and you have chickens and vegetables and all of those, cooking oil and everything. No? And I took my seat, and there was a woman already seated near by the side of the window, and she said, oh, where are you going? Baguio! Where else? was I saying, don't talk with me. I am irritated. But then she said, oh, you're going to Baguio. She said, it's a long trip. Do you want to pray with me? I want to pray the rosary. That conversation will never happen in an air-conditioned bus. Everyone has a blanket or a jacket. You want to feel cold, do not disturb me. I prayed with her. It may be just a bus station, but it could be your desert. And there Satan lurks and offers a way of being and acting. Let us be vigilant. Let us not eliminate God's voice, God's plan. What does He want us